that's what makes that Jaguars loss even more with Urban Meyer.
You say Jaguars weird. You said
Jaguars.
I say Jaguars. Jaguars.
This is the open.
You should say it like they say it in the car commercials.
Jaguar.
We'll start with this question from Robin.
So there's still a damn good defense.
I have zero problem with them bringing this guy in.
Welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Connors and Ferris, Mike Catalana, Dan Fetes. I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share the channel. We always appreciate it. We are back with our latest edition of You Ask, We Answer, presented by Stellar Roofing, Windows, and Siding. A lot of good questions coming in.
Yeah.
Mike, I can tell you want something to say.
All I want to say is it's nice having all of us together. You know, we get separated a little bit on some of these road games, and people were saying, wow, Jenna doesn't go. Was she on vacation? That's what somebody asked. I'm like, no, you were working. You were covering the game back home. I know. I'm sticking up for you.
I know. I saw that comment and I was like, just because I'm not in the video doesn't mean I'm not working. Some days it's anchoring. Oh, really?
He made the face, not me.
Really?
No, we were all working together on all of our coverage and just, you know, the road games. It's always two of us. So
You going to battle the mic all day?
It keeps dropping.
I was confused.
I know I tightened this up and it's just,
okay.
It's maxed out.
Okay. Let's start with the questions.
You got it.
Some good ones that we got from the post. So if you do have a question, be sure to go when Mike makes a post on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. He'll have a post saying You Ask, We Answer segment. Please be sure to drop a question in there. All right, I'm going to start with a question from PH Flacco. Do you think the Bills look like the scariest team through week 2? Dan, what do you think?
No, I don't think they look the scariest team. I think they look way more complete than I think we originally thought of. I think they look like a team that won't beat themselves. I think they looked well coached over the last 6 quarters, maybe after you take out the first 2 quarters against Arizona. But I think that's where I see you could maybe make the case of one of the more complete teams, but without a true number 1 wide receiver, it's tough to be scary.
Yeah.
I don't know if defensive coordinators are still scared to play the Bills right now. They're scared of Josh Allen because we know what he can do, obviously, but I wouldn't say scariest.
I think I agree with the fact that I did not expect the team to look as sharp or maybe just as, I think complete is probably the right word. I think going into the season, the biggest question mark was in terms of wide receiver, could they get it done without that guy? But they've shown that they can win games in ways that are not just Josh Allen taking over or trying to have a guy go for 100+ yards, 2 touchdowns, all that stuff. They've been able to run the ball well. The defense has played really well. Like there's been moments that I think this team has been unselfish. And we heard throughout the summer that that was something that, you know, Joe Brady had talked about, you know, Sean McDermott had talked about, Josh Allen had talked about at points. So for me, scariest does sound a little bit different because I think for me, when I think of scary, I do think of those like big time, big names that you think about, oh, they got this guy and that guy and this guy. Whereas the Bills, I think all along have kind of built themselves as a team that, what's the phrase? Everybody eats. For me, I don't think they're scary, but I think that they have done a great job. And that can also be scary because I think that might sneak up on people. Now, look, the Bills are really good, so I'm not saying they're going to catch anyone by surprise. But at the same moment, they have been quite better than my expectations.
I like the word complete, and it's not what we were expecting. And when Josh Allen didn't need to have a big game against the Dolphins, one, that's a surprise.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Josh played poorly and other guys made up for him. He was good. He was great in moments.
Yes.
But he did not need to because the defense was so good. Oddly, the 2 scariest teams I saw this past weekend were the Arizona Cardinals and the New Orleans Saints.
The Saints are scary.
The Saints are scary.
Momentarily scary.
I am saying we saw that Cardinals team. Our friend Matt Bove was telling us, I think the Cardinals are good. And I pushed back.
I said that too. I think they're going to be better than people think.
Well, better than people think is true. Good is another thing.
Correct.
Right?
They had a pretty low floor.
And
low expectations.
They realized they had Marvin Harrison on the team.
That helps.
So they looked scary, but the Saints looked incredible against Dallas. When
they
you
have
looked at
scored
the first game,
15 touchdowns, or they have scored on 15 drives that Derek Carr has played.
Yeah, he threw one. I think he threw one pick, or was it the backup that came in the game?
I think it was the backup.
So they were just running over people. And the reason, to Dan's point, or saying is scary is one thing. I don't think Bills fans could hope for much more than we've seen from this team from the moment of the drive right before halftime, outside of giving up the kickoff against the Cardinals. This team has played really well, and the Dolphins game was good. So not scary yet, but that's going to take more from the offense to be scarier.
We talked about it, I think, right after our video, maybe when we were driving back home from the stadium at 3 a.m, was that I think Josh loves a game like the Bills played against Miami, where he still got to flash. He still was, the throw to Ty Johnson was special. He still had some of those moments where he got to look at David Long Jr.'s back and give him the, who are you? Like Josh, this wasn't a game where Josh, like you said, was bad. And so other people had to pick him up. Josh was also good. The team around him, though, was also good. He has this, it just feels like he doesn't have the weight of the team all on his shoulders. The fact that they can run the ball that effectively and take the air out of an opposing defense, and the fact that it's not all on Josh, I think is relieving to him. Even when he has those dominant game guys, he goes up to the podium and he still wants to talk about everybody else. Like, I think Josh loves, we joked around about how much Sean McDermott loved that Miami game and that he must have been on cloud 9 coming back from Miami. But I think Josh also knowing, like, I don't have to do it all is freeing for Josh.
Absolutely.
Because we saw at the end of the Arizona game, it was like, screw it, I'll do it all. I'll hurdle over defender because we need it. There was flow, there was rhythm, all of those things in that game against Miami.
Yeah, I think he too likes to see his guys shine.
Yes.
Like, that is who Josh Allen is. The critique of Josh is like, he wants to be one of the guys. He wants to see his guys do well. And when they get that attention for having great games, he loves to see that, because for so much we talk about the Bills, it is Josh Allen. And I think for him, you're right. It's got to feel nice to be like, hey, I played well. In the moments that I was asked to play well, I played really well. But I also got to see the guys that I see work their butts off.
Yeah.
Be able to have their moment too.
And that's where I thought the difference was. If Josh played poorly, he still would have been complimentary of his teammates, but you would just hear it in his voice. They're 2-0. They look great. They demolished their rival on the road. So it's way too early. But you guys say about not having the weight of the world on your shoulders. He seems happy and content. Not content like he doesn't need to do more. The vibe of this team has been very positive for him. Now, they haven't had any real anxiety. A little bit in that Cardinals game, and he came through and they came through. But he just seems that way. Walking off the field, Dan, you got a great shot of him celebrating with his arms out.
Like on a home stadium.
Yeah.
Like, or on a road game. Like, that felt like a home stadium.
You might have been right. Yeah.
Freudian slip there. That I think is very, and again, when he went to the locker room and they have the camera there, he wasn't like necessarily big win. He was like Jimbo 3-piece.
Yeah.
Like that was one of those things. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where I feel like we've seen him come to podiums and he's like, I sucked. I cost our team. And he hates letting his teammates on. Breaking news. I'm sure every quarterback feels that way. But when Josh doesn't have to be Superman the entire game, I think it's got to feel very freeing to him. And that's a credit to Joe Brady and how he did it.
The phrase or saying freeing, when you were talking about the way Josh Allen felt or has been acting, I felt like it has been that freer. He's been freed up a little bit. And I honestly think McDermott has been too. What did we talk about a couple weeks ago? McDermott's still kind of like jokey McDermott, which I don't expect that to stay the whole season, but that has been kind of a different vibe as well. I just feel like we've seen that so far this season, Mike.
No, we did. And he had a big moment in that game, in addition to what Dan's referencing, where his defense dominated. They won in Miami. That big early 4th down call. Credit to Joe Brady. That's a tremendous call. Credit to
Joe
him.
Brady.
Yes. And to the execution of it. Everybody handled it. But that was 4th and 3. You called the timeout and you ran the same play.
Love it.
And in total, they dominated. And Sean had that, he was talking about everybody else, like Josh.
Yeah.
but that was big for him too, that game.
Yeah. All right, let's go to our next question.
Yep.
Miguel Jovain 8786. Hello guys, greetings from Panama City, Panama.
Nice.
Cool.
Amazing.
Been a Bills fan long enough to know who Mike is talking about when he makes a Phil Hansen remark. I'd like to know if Dan still thinks the Bills don't need a running game, and what do you think about the offense so far?
I think they need a running game with this wide receiver group. I don't.
Okay, that's an important caveat. Yeah.
So yeah, as you guys like to say, I can bend my take and work it into what it needs to be.
You can shoehorn it into
Yes.
anything.
I will
Is
make it
that
work.
what you're
Yeah,
saying?
exactly. But I think we talk about this. We're just talking about this a little bit before we came in here. But this everybody eats philosophy is great when you're winning, and it's great, but eventually you're going to need to find some go-to guys. And Khalil Shakir has been that. He has been steady, but Josh is in this offense is going to need to eventually find more production from pass catchers. That's not a hot take. Kincaid needs to be more involved, and Keon Coleman needs to be more consistent like this. But when you can rely on a ground game and an offensive line that is pancaking people left and right, it really helps alleviate some of that stress and pressure.
I think the Bills are on the right edge of the wave that's going on in the NFL. Their defense plays deep safeties,
Cover two.
They know how to keep people from getting deep,
Yep.
taking away big plays. They can run the football, and they have a quarterback who can be lethal when you need him to be. I think that is the formula to win. We always talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs do it in a similar way now. It's just the way they play. But I think this is where the league is going. I think teams have had to adjust so much to the rule changes for offense that the Bills got themselves caught a little bit last year where they hadn't committed to it. They changed the coordinators. They weren't all the way there. I'm not saying strictly as a running team, but you look around the league, you need to be able to run the football. And teams use it all the time. It'll be interesting with the Chiefs losing Pacheco.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Coins are in there. It'll be interesting.
Can we open
I'm
this
pretty
up?
sure you've been the one that's contributed the most.
Charity.
Yeah, well, and you know what?
What a guy.
I'm not even going to call you out.
What did I say, like 3 times?
No, but I said this was self-reporting. You gave me the look, so it was sort of self-reporting.
What did you say?
He just gave me the interesting. The Chiefs lose Pacheco. That's a big part of their game.
Massive.
They can still move the ball. They can still do all those things. But I do think it's important.
Still the
But-
refs.
Oh my gosh.
But you look around the league, that's the mindset of a lot of teams, is to take that away. You got to adjust in different ways. I think the Bills are set up to do that offensively. They just need, to your point, doesn't mean you got to have 130 yards,
No.
but you got to make the big plays. They didn't need them in the Miami game. They're going to need them down the road.
It's so nice knowing, though, that you have that ability. Like, if you need to, you know that Josh can give you what
Josh
you need.
can.
Yeah.
It's the question of finding who on the other end can.
That's true. That's fair.
I want to ask Joe Brady at one point this season, like what goes through his mind during the play calling of a game? Because I remember Leslie Frazier talked about that one game against the Chiefs where he wrote down on his wristband, "Don't blitz."
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wonder if more coaches have some motto, philosophy, mindset to remind themselves of during a game. Because when the Bills seem to be able to run the ball and run it successfully, they just keep hitting the button. Like they just keep smashing it. And I tweeted during the game that when Sean McDermott saw Joe Brady calling run play after run play, I was like, it's the Herb Brooks, like again. Like, but it's easy to have Josh Allen and get away from that. It's easy to say, hey, we ran the ball well a couple times. Now let's go deep. But the consistency of Joe Brady so far this season, I've been impressed with by taking what the defense is giving them, what plays are working. Let's keep doing it until they prove that they can stop it. Because I think sometimes you outthink yourself as an offensive play caller of, okay, well, now they think we've done this, so I'm going to do this. And instead, Joe Brady's just keeping it simple of like, you guys can't stop this run. Here it is again.
Yeah.
Here it is again. We'll line up, tell you where we're running the ball. You ain't going to stop it.
Yeah.
It's checkers, not chess. But I mean that specifically. Like,
But that's what I'm saying is I wonder if Joe Brady has like KISS written on his arm, like to keep it simple, stupid. Like what is his mindset of being able to adjust in the game while also keeping it very simple of this defense can't stop this. Let's just keep hammering it.
And I don't mean I brought up the Saints because, we were all not able, we were able to watch in other games.
Yeah.
And I watched the Saints just do the same thing over and over again. And the way the Cowboys defensive line, not to get into that game, they just kept running Kamara over that left side, and they just kept getting yard after yard after yard, and they could not stop it. So they just figured, well, why not? And scored touchdowns on 5 straight drives.
It's tough now to be so critical of Tua because of the end of the game. He was awful when he was in the game. He was really bad. But Achane was dominant running the ball.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like they were like, let's take out, we'll let you run the ball, but we're not going to let you get behind us. I do think
there was an element of that. Yeah, that the Bills had to give up something.
Right, but I think so highly of Mike McDaniel as an offensive coordinator. But this is the second time that I think he's outsmarted himself. That's to my point, making my point of Joe Brady. Because I sat there and I went, the Dolphins could run the ball 7 yards a pop if they wanted to in the first half. And whenever they dropped back, Tua turned it over. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, if they went Wildcat, they would have been a more successful offense just snapping the ball to Achane.
I think there are coaches who like to be noticed.
Oh, you don't think?
In their play calling. And I think Mike McDaniel is one of those guys. I think he's talented, but it's a lot of sizzle.
The Bills are steak.
They are.
Yeah.
Even defensively, they're steak.
Need some sizzle.
They will.
You can't.
They're gonna need some sizzle.
Of course, but you got a good steak.
Yeah.
Flip once.
And it does not,
sear.
Yeah. Sear, let it be. Then flip.
Yeah.
It does not. I mean, that's what I said from that game. McDermott and Babbage. Bobby Babbage. We wanted to also shout out Bob Sr. I know you're watching the videos. Bobby Babbage had a great night.
Absolutely.
Great night. We always feel like with the Chiefs, you always feel like Andy Reid's hands are all over the offense, whether he's specifically calling the plays or not. So Sean will get the grief if the defense part of the grief. But that's Bob Babbage in his second game, masterclass against the Dolphins.
It was incredible.
Bobby Babbage was on the field when the players, I don't know how, that's how good you were defensively when you could leave the booth pretty early.
Oh, it's good.
Hey guys, we're good. I'm going to go down there on the field. He got to walk off the field to the crowd too.
That's cool.
Again, when you're that good defensively against a very high-powered offense, hats off to Babbage.
Yeah, that's actually a segue as well into our next question. Hair Punnett, can the front four keep pressure up this week to help the depleted back seven behind them? With the losses of Milano, Taryn, and now Bernard, what can we expect from this defense against a team that has had our number the last 2 times?
Go ahead. Make your point.
Yeah, the back seven doesn't need any help. The back seven's been the best part of this defense. I'd say the back 5, if you want to include Cam Lewis, Rasul Douglas, Bernard, Benford, and then Rapp and Hamlin. I've gotten into a little bit with people saying, oh, their defensive line is their best unit. And then obviously the linebackers have already been depleted. But the back half of the secondary, if anybody had issues with the secondary, they have been outstanding. Rasul and Benford have been dominant. And I don't think that there has been a drop-off between an aging Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer to what we're seeing with Rapp and Hamlin. We saw Poyer.
Rough night for Poyer.
It was a rough night for
I think the back half of this secondary has been outstanding. Cam Lewis filling in for Taron Johnson has been outstanding. And that kind of, it's another credit to Babbage and McDermott. The way they've been disguising it, the way they've known the system, I've been very impressed.
I was so happy to see Christian Benford get that interception.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jamarcus Ingram, incredible. Then the pick 6, that was awesome. But for Christian Benford, a guy that so quietly works, to see him get that shine, to see him get that, it's like, that was awesome to see. But in general, you're right. I think it's been great the pressure they were able to get in the defensive line last game, and you want that. You want to see that, obviously. But I think you're right, Dan. Oh, shouldn't have said that.
That he's right.
That he's right. But I've been really pleasantly surprised.
What are you taking credit for?
That the back half is the defense.
I guess it wasn't a take of his. I guess I'm just agreeing with the fact that when
Wait a minute, hold on. What are you taking credit for?
No,
Christian Benford?
No. She was giving me credit for my point.
I know, but usually he's going to come back around and somehow say,
I was right about that. No, I was just agreeing with the point of, yes, they have a lot of injuries and all this stuff, but the guys, the back seven, like you said, the back five have played very well and they've done a really great job. And to have the turnovers and have the coverage. Also, shout out Rasul Douglas, like his tackling, just just stuff like that that really can be pivotal. And for him to go and have the game he had to.
Do we want to put in the clip?
Yeah. Chris Long, former NFL lineman, won Super Bowl with the Patriots and with the Eagles, on his Greenlight podcast was talking about the Bills. We'll say what he said about Ed Oliver, but this is when he talked about Sean McDermott and the way he coaches guys up, especially in the secondary.
Nobody gets little guys to play bigger than Sean McDermott. I mean, that's what I've learned since I've taken this job as somebody who watches the game every week. He has, I mean, last year there were guys down left and right and they battled. It was guys that I'm getting acquainted with, making plays for him. And this year already,
I saw somebody say, when are the Bills going to get credit for the way they coach up the players from the national people? Forget the national people. How long have we been talking about that? It is the skill, the number one skill I think Sean McDermott has is coaching up, especially backup players. You go back to what were Hyde and Poyer when they came to town.
That's my point. I always make that point. Credit to me.
Wow. He just snagged that right out of the air. Well, Poyer was a guy who had been injured. Micah Hyde was a good player that
Absolutely.
Green Bay should have kept, but they let him walk. But they were not superstars. And now you see these other players, and it's great. And Chris Long, maybe you can summarize a little bit of what he said about Ed Oliver.
In between the F-bombs,
dog was the word he used a lot.
He said 100% canine.
Yes.
He said he's going to get a jersey of his.
With a 91.
Goes, yeah, I'm going to be one of those adults wearing another adult jersey. Yeah, he was dominant.
He said glass eater.
Yes. Yeah. Had them all. But it was
It's a really good clip, yeah.
And obviously Ed's clip from the Jamarcus Ingram interception that Mike tweeted was just so good. We're sitting there in the airport and we had laughed about it. And then we're kind of scrolling through having like dinner. And I was like, you didn't tweet that clip. And he's like, you think that'll do good? I think it did great. It's one of those moments of, I thought the ball was, I thought 10 had it. I thought 10 had run the other way.
Tyreek Hill was gone for a touchdown.
There goes Ingram.
Yeah. That was good. Ed is, by the way, a lot of you mentioned, Ed is a great interview.
Yeah.
When we get him to talk after games sometimes that we can find him, and talk, especially in that setting. Again, he was complimenting one of his teammates too.
I think that's where guys are most comfortable.
Rousseau has been impressive so far.
Mm-hmm.
The pressure's been good. I wouldn't say it's been great. I think that the coverage has confused quarterbacks at times that has allowed the front to get there. I think of the Von Miller sack, I know it's Skylar Thompson, but like a couple times where they drop back, they're thinking it's one thing. They're thinking it's cover one and it's cover three.
Yeah.
And that is kind of allowing, they work hand in hand.
They had a great.
And you always think about it as the front helping out the back half of the secondary, but this back half of the secondary has been helping out the front.
Yeah. And Ed, by the way, and Von and Ed had a great stunt and it cleared, Ed cleared things out for Von. And Von, you have to give him credit. I know he's got the stats now with a couple of sacks.
He
has definitely looked
better, more
like himself.
33% win pass, rush, win rate. Very difficult to say. He's 33%. I think he's like 8th in the league.
Yeah.
That's huge. Because going into this season, it was like, what are you going to get from Von? You're like, I hope for anything but what we've seen so far, it's like, that is actually encouraging.
Yep.
And that's another player that other teams are going to have to know where is 40 out on the field. All right. Next question, Matt Hino Music. Are the Bills still going to win that game against the Jags with Urban Meyer coaching? I love this question.
Phenomenal question.
I had to include it.
I would say
Shut up, Matt.
15 times you and I have mentioned it.
Oh, way over.
That game.
Anytime we talk about Bills' bad losses, we're always like, in that Jacksonville game, I still think they're going to come back and win.
Because the whole game we were
like
sitting there talking about it, going, oh, they'll drive down and score. Josh Allen, their Josh Allen dominated that game. He was great.
Sack, forced fumble,
and an
interception. Yeah, for all of the inside jokes that this channel has, that is at the top of them.
Yeah.
That Jaguars game.
They're going to come back. They're still going to win.
Urban Meyer played that game. Urban Meyer coached that game.
That is crazy, though. I mean, the Bills have not played well against the Jags. Obviously, last year in London, that game was gross.
London game.
There's the playoff game.
When they finally broke the drought.
Yeah.
I go all the way back to Jim Kelly's last game against the Jags. It just does not seem like things go well against Jacksonville.
Well, this is good. So Angel S. Crew saying, what is Dan's hot take as to why the Jags befuddle the Bills?
I think it could be taking them a little bit for granted.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of those like that's what makes that Jaguars loss even more with Urban Meyer.
You say Jaguars weird. I say
Jaguars.
I say Jaguars. Jaguars.
This is the open.
You should say it like they say it in the car commercials.
Jaguar.
I don't. Do you know what? Do you hear it? Just say Jags.
Okay.
Oh, did I hurt your feelings?
You might have. At least you didn't say.
Well, now I think now I don't know how to say it.
Important.
Jaguars.
Important.
I think it's a little bit taking them lightly. I think a lot of those were younger teams for the most part too. I mean, I know that the last year the Jags in London game was, I don't know.
That was bad.
I think the Bills were favored in that game. There was all the talk about the way they traveled, that played into it, and everybody got hurt. Certainly, they took them for granted when they played them down in Jacksonville. That was a horrendous team.
Yeah,
still found a way to beat them. So, and now you have to worry about that for this week because they're coming off. That was an ugly, ugly football game with Cleveland kept trying to hand it back to them.
Yes.
Jacksonville wouldn't take it. And they blew the game with Miami the first week. They should have put them away. That makes them dangerous this week. That and Gabe Davis at wide receiver, who is coming back to see Dan.
Mitch Morris will be back in Orchard Park as well. Gabe Davis. Dang, you should be on the field.
Trevor Lawrence said it best. They suck right now. They just suck, and he says it's on him. But they got receivers in general that aren't open. They have receivers running into cornerbacks, covering themselves. It's just not good right now.
Yeah. Yep. They are in trouble. And when you're 0-2, we've seen the numbers, and it's changed a bit as you've added playoff teams. But boy, you start out 0-3, and your chances of getting back are tough.
I do want to look at that. We have mentioned before, hungry dog runs faster. I do see what you're saying, Mike. They will be a desperate team coming to Orchard Park, but if it was in Jacksonville, it may be a little different for me. The way I see this is just a Bills team that is right now not hurting themselves. And that makes them, with Josh Allen and everybody else, a very strong, solid team.
Yep.
Okay, last question. User WM5WI8FGS9. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Longtime friend of the program.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Like, we're joking because it's not fun when you have to explain a joke. Okay. Jordan from Oklahoma, with the injuries to Milano and Bernard, are the Bills down to Balin, Spector, and Morrow for linebackers. Do they activate Joe Andreessen and Eddie Ulofoshio?
Well, I think Andreessen probably.
Yeah.
Don't you think this
Absolutely.
week? Well, because Spector's also, you got to take away his special teams duty if he's going to be the...
Correct.
I had a nice talk with him after the game.
Balin?
Yeah, and he was... I was trying to ask him, like, what is it like? It's one thing to say, I've prepared, I'm ready. But he doesn't just come in the game. He's relaying the defensive calls.
Yeah.
So he's in right away. And again, with Ed Oliver, he said, yeah, I'm in the huddle, and I'm hearing this voice, and I'm like, that's not TB. That's what he says to me. And you think about it, like, he's just in there doing his job, and then all of a sudden, and I said, well, you should relate because Balin's got a little, and he's like,
he's got a thick Southern accent.
And then he's like, then I picked up on it, but I was impressed by Spector saying, like, you have to be ready, and then actually having to do it. it's another thing coming in at, say, safety or even corner or whatever, where you're just part of it. But you have to be taking control. And I thought he did well. Now, they're going to pick on him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question now, you're down those two linebackers. That makes it tough.
It is great news. When we recorded our post-game recap, thinking that when it was a pack and that he did not return for Terrell Bernard, it appears, according to reports, and Sean kind of said it as well after, it is just a strained pec. It is not a torn pec like Matt Milano had. They're hoping that he doesn't even need to go on IR. Massive news, because when he walked off the field and was mumbling some things under his breath as I'm on the sidelines, it did not appear to be like it would just be back in a couple games. So you just kind of need to hold water, like right now with what these are, and hope that you get Bernard back, because I think Dorian Williams has played fine.
Yeah.
I don't think he's made any massive mistakes or errors like that. So if you can just tread water, wait till TB gets back.
That is huge, though, the fact that because you're right.
When I heard pec, I was hoping it was going to be shoulder. When it came back pec, that look was not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they've already had it with Milano, and the hope is that to get him back late in the season, anything mid-season for Bernard is a huge plus from the way it looked the other night. So let's see what these guys can do. Bobby Babich also can coach up. By the way, speaking of linebackers, I noticed they sent Tremaine Edmonds on a blitz last night, and he got a sack.
No way.
Yes.
How about that?
Tremaine Edmonds. It was
Splash
a nice
play.
little. Yeah, he made a splash.
I was
play.
watching that game, and I went, "Oh, Terrell Bernard's playing."
Yeah.
Or
Tremaine
Edmonds.
Yeah.
All right. We want to remind everyone, please be sure to check out no, not yet. The Buffalo Plus audio podcast.
Yes.
Available wherever you listen to your podcasts. Please be sure to subscribe to that. Also, be sure to give us a rating, a comment. We always a positive comment, please.
Unless it's about me.
Yeah, well, you get enough comments, but please be sure to do that. I'm going to do this every time now.
It's like we're the Bears' offensive line. It's another false start.
It's Pavlov. You're ready. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. Thank you to Stellar Roofing, Windows and Siding for sponsoring You Ask, We Answer.
Roofing.
I said that.
She did.
You said windows and siding.
No, she
Didn't I say roofing?
I thought you said roofing.
Okay. Stellar Roofing, Windows and Siding. And that'll do it for us on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel presented by Connors and Ferris. Thank you so much for Mike Catalana, Dan Fetes. I'm Jenna Cottrell. We will catch you here want to remind everyone on Thursday at 7:15, we have our Buffalo Plus live.
Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, on the YouTube channel. We'll do a preview of this Bills-Jaguars matchup.
That's it. That's how that works.
Say it one more time.
Jaguars.
Jaguars. Okay,
Jaguars.
thanks. Did you hear it, though? You heard him say it.
Nope.
I hear a lot of what he
Okay,
says.
that's true. All right, thanks for watching. Bye, y'all. We'll start with this question from Robin.
So there's still a damn good defense.
I have zero problem with them bringing this guy in.